okay?
Presentation mode is now enabled.
Thank you. If you can't hear me and I can't hear you, just raise your hand, let me know, I'll keep yelling or something. Feel free to interrupt me anytime with questions. The more questions you ask, the better this will be as a teaching training environment. You know why we're here. Vance has told us that. Introduction, okay, you know about me. You can ask me any question about me also. We're going to talk about the basics of trans. How many people know what transgender is? 1, 2, everybody, right? Cool. Who knows people that are transgender? There's a fair amount out here. Me? Well, okay, cool. So we're going to talk about transgender needs. I'm hoping that you teach me something also today. So if there's something that is confusing you or you know from your experience, let me know because I don't know everything. So I'd love to learn from you today also. We're really going to spend a lot more time on people's needs and feelings and what it's like to be trans, what our feelings are like, and then what your feelings must be to learn this news here of what you're going to do with a coworker and how we can communicate with Elia when she gets back, what's appropriate, what's not appropriate. That makes sense for everybody? I can't hear you. Yes. Thank you. Okay. The more you interact with me, the more fun this is going to be. So we got an hour. We're also going to do the hour, so we're going to try to finish at 2, right? And if you want questions even afterwards there, I'll still be hanging in here. So I know you got to go back to work, but we'll take any questions that you have as time allows. And then there'll be Q&A. Who's Grace? I've reduced what used to be tons and tons of slides to 1 page as Transgender 101, and I have to find a place where I can read it and you can read it. So, first basics, sex and gender are 2 different constructs. We grow up in a culture where we think it's the same thing, but the reality, it's not the same thing. Sex refers to biological and anatomical characteristics. When we're born, we pop out and somebody picks us up, a doctor picks us up and announces male or female based on our anatomy. They have no idea what goes on in our chromosomes. They have no idea what goes on in our brains when we develop. But they announce it. We are named male or female. Binary construct, male or female, no in between. That turns out to be not true for many, many people. Gender refers to, ultimately, how you see yourself, psychological sense of who am I? Do I feel like I fit into the patterns and the cultural norms expected of a certain gender? Men are supposed to behave one way, women are supposed to behave another way. What are men supposed to be?
Masculine.
Masculine. What does masculine mean?
Tough.
Tough. Right. Tough. Take no prisoners. What's that? Eat everything in sight. Right. And women. What's women supposed to be? Soft, not speak, and they're not supposed to speak, right? Okay. Okay. There are norms. But how many of us really say, well, I really don't fit those norms, but I can't let anybody know that because I can't get outside of that. Because if I let people know I'm not fitting the norm, I may not belong to the group. And I need to belong to the group. That make sense? Okay, I'm getting some nods there. Okay. Male and female, terms to describe binary model. Sex and gender are aligned for over 95% of the population. Okay? 95%. That's still a huge number of people, right? 5% of the population may have trouble, and how do they deal with it when they feel they may not belong to some certain group, if you really found out about it? It's been true forever. Lots of indigenous cultures have ideas. Native Americans have a two-spirit concept, where people that express this male-female dichotomy, that it's mixed together, they're looked in honor. They're looked as shamans within the industry. They go for the wisdom that's there. Our culture to date, the great Western North American culture, is a binary model. And if you don't fit into that model right, there's something wrong. And what we're trying to do is explain that that model may not be accurate. So that's what the training is about. I have a few definitions. The term transgender, the term transsexual, even within the transgender community, people argue over these definitions all the time. But I want to put two definitions in place for this training. You may read about different definitions in different places, but stay with me on these definitions right now. I use transgender as an umbrella term for anyone that considers themselves not fitting that binary model. Some level of gender variance. They don't really either feel male, female, or they may feel fluid. And they may express their gender by dress, by mannerisms in different ways than the binary model will ask for. People under the transgender umbrella may be people who change their gender and live in a gender other than assigned from birth. There may be people who will express an opposite gender at certain times, people that might cross-dress just because they feel it's relaxing or for any other reasons they may have, but then go back and live their life in their assigned gender and be happy with it. There are people that call themselves non-binary, that reject gender, and they create all their new pronouns. Some use it, some use ze, some use they. So there's a whole new set of language coming around pronouns and how people identify. There are some people that are gender fluid. Sometimes I call that bigender. And they wish they could express themselves male today, female tomorrow, male the next day, go on in their work environment, go in their church environment, wherever they do. I know people who try to do that. They don't do it in their work environment, but they do it outside of work. And people honor them in no matter how they express. But it's difficult for them because it's difficult in their own private relationships on what they do. Some people in their relationships, it works great, but everyone's different. Transsexual, I define the term transsexual as anyone who chooses to live full-time in a gender that was not the gender they assigned at birth. I'm a transsexual woman. Alaya's going to come back. She's a transsexual woman. It has nothing to do with any surgeries people have. It's how you choose to live your life. Everybody got that? Okay. Not all transgender people wish to transition their gender assignment at birth. That's what I was just talking about. Not all transgender people who do transition will have any surgeries. A word on surgeries. Is it appropriate to ask people about surgery?
No.
Any yeses here? Okay, you've taught yourself. Okay. Okay. It's not appropriate to ask people what they're doing, how they're doing it. It's none of your business. It's really very private for what people do to themselves. It's kind of a boundary. I spoke to Alaya. She's willing to take lots of questions. She'll be able to set her boundaries, but just for your information, it's not appropriate to ask about surgeries. Okay? Okay? Thank you. Transgender people are just like you and me. Everybody's just trying to live their authentic life, right? That's it. All we want to do is be who we are. Okay? It may not be what the model let you know, but part of this training is to just say, that's okay, I can learn something new and you can be who you are. Any questions on my top 10 list? This is the basics of trans there. What do you know that I haven't put up in here, or what questions may you have about this? Nothing? Wow. There will be a quiz, by the way. It's not a choice. It's not a lifestyle. We're wired like this. This is how our brain works. This is our psychological sense of who we are and ourselves. Sometimes we deny it for a long, long time. We have difficulty getting to a level of self-acceptance. The only decision that we can make is what do we do about it. Some people transition when they're young, some people transition when they're not so young, like me. But that's the choice and what the impact of this. We'll talk about that a lot more. This is really sensitive, and the numbers are astonishing and sad. Transgender suicide. In 2009, there was a survey done of 7,000 people who identified as transgender. The question that was asked, have you ever attempted suicide? Out of 7,000 people, 41% said yes. The national average, 1.6%. People who are transgender will attempt to commit suicide 25 times that of the general population.